Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Power Season 4, Episode 5, which was titled Don't Thank Me. This episode of Power, had me like, whoa. It just came out of nowhere. Like the stuff that happened, I totally was not expecting. But before we start, how many of you thought that Ghost was dreaming during the scene with Charlie Murphy in the weight room? Like, leave it in the comments and let me know, because the whole time I was watching that, I was like, he's gonna wake up, right? He's gonna wake up and this is all going to be a dream. But as it turns out, it wasn't a dream, and your girl wasn't ready for the reality of that situation. So the show opens up with Silver, and he's in with Ghost, and he's basically, talking to Ghost and saying, I know you're afraid, and this is a scary moment for you. And Ghost was like, no, I'm not scared. I'm mad as hell that I'm even in this predicament. And so, he's upset that Proctor's not there, because that's the only person that he trusts. And he's like, now I got to deal with your punk behind who doesn't believe in me, who thinks that I'm lying. Like, how am I supposed to feel? But even when, Silver's trying to be hard and, saying to him, I'm the nigga that's standing between you and the lethal injection, he still, comes across as this like self-entitled, preppy white boy. He just doesn't have that hardness in him. So Ghost has his asset forfeiture hearing, and Silver needs to bring in some more people, from his firm to help them, get through the case. And I don't blame Ghost, for not trusting Silver, but at this point, it's all he got, so we got to roll with it. So Silver wants to know if there's anything in the financials, that could cause a problem for Ghost. But of course, Ghost is insisting that he's this businessman, James St. Patrick, and he doesn't have anything to hide, and they can go through it, with a fine-tooth comb, and they ain't gonna find nothing. And then Silver, he asks, is there any way that they could come up with something that could tie him to, any kind of criminal activity? Because then, if they can connect him to Tommy and prove that they're doing something, money laundering, drugs, or whatever, then they can go after the RICO Act. But, Ghost is playing the role to the end, and he says, no, they're not going to find anything. Tasha handles all the financials, and everything is clean and on the up and up. So Silver goes to see Tasha, and she is livid when she finds out that Proctor is off the case. But Silver assures her that that he has her best interest at heart, and he's the man for the job. And I still do not trust him. I don't know, it's just something about him that I don't trust. And he may turn out to be the best lawyer ever, but it's just something about him. So he wants Tasha to testify at the asset hearing, even though this puts her in jeopardy of losing the spousal privilege and could land her butt in jail. But he thinks it's the best course of action. And let me find out that he's trying to push up on Tasha, because throughout the show, he was giving Tasha some little eye contact going on that I thought was a little appropriate, considering he is the attorney for her husband. I did hear that Tasha was going to have a love interest on this season of Power, but I never in my wildest dreams imagined that it would be Mr. Terry Silver. And I think that was on the Wendy Williams show. I think she was the one that said that. And then Angela is just so corrupt, but I guess she's like the rest of us. You got to have somebody to talk to about your job and to bounce things off of. And so she is discussing like the intimate details of the case with her crazy sister. And I'm just like, really, Angela, is that what you're going to do? And so the two were supposed to be out running, and Angela running, just working up a sweat, getting some of the stress off of her. And when she comes up on the sister sitting down on the park bench smoking a cigarette like she ain't got a care in the world. So, Angela sits down and tells her that she thinks that Jamie is innocent. And then the sister, is like, you should do the right thing. You can't let an innocent man go to jail, but don't let it mess up what you do for the family. Like, don't lose your job, and then you can't be helping us with our bills. So, Angela has a little dilemma going on, because she knows that, from looking at the surveillance footage, that Ghost didn't have that gun. So now she's got to figure out how to get that evidence introduced without blowing her own cover or making her own self look bad. So Angela goes to see Sandoval about the surveillance footage, and of course he shoots her down and tells her that they're not going to enter the evidence. And while the two of them are talking, Cooper and John walk in tooting their own horns about how when they went through the financials that they came across a 7-figure check that Tommy wrote to Ghost. And I'm just thinking, what is it that Tommy's supposed to be doing that he could be giving somebody millions of dollars? Like, some of the writing in this show is so unrealistic, but I guess that's the part about fiction. We can stretch reality as far as we want to. And so they are going to try and make it look like Tommy gave Ghost the money to pay Ghost to kill Greg Knox, because Tommy was afraid that Knox was on to them, and to add credibility to their claims, the check was dated after Tommy and Ghost were supposed to be had them parted ways, and Tommy was no longer involved in any of the businesses that Ghost had. So Angela realizes that they are going to try and use the check to implicate Tommy and Ghost to build a RICO case against them. So now she's really concerned, like, how in the world am I going to introduce this evidence about the surveillance without blowing the entire case? So then we have a scene with Tommy and Keisha, and this girl has to stop playing 21 questions with this man, because she is just asking so many questions. And so two of them are in bed together, and Keisha's rolling a blunt. She got high and trying to get Tommy high. And I can't figure out if Tommy really likes Keisha, if he just needs some companionship, and then he figures it's a way to keep an eye on Keisha and make sure she don't do anything crazy, if he playing mind games with her. But when Keisha went asking them questions about Holly and what happened to Holly, Tommy was like, what? Did you say something? Like code word, shut your mouth, and we're not going to have this conversation again. So Keisha, you better watch out. So then while they're in bed together, Tasha texts Tommy to let him know that Proctor is off the case and that she has to testify at the asset hearing. So Tommy tracks Proctor down and jacks him up on the side of the road. And I'm thinking, for somebody who know that they're being tailed by the feds, and the feds have already figured out that the two of them are in cahoots together, Tommy just be out walking the streets freely, pulling up on people, slamming them against the walls. He don't care. So he's upset, because Proctor didn't tell him that he was no longer on the case. And then Proctor is looking like he is so sick of Tommy, and if whatever he can do to get away from Tommy and get Tommy out of his life, he is about to do it. But Tommy tells him that Tasha, is in on the business, and that so is Keisha, and that this whole thing is just getting bigger than any of them imagined. And then Proctor was like, what the hell? Like, why didn't you tell me any of this? And Tommy said, well, it was a need to know basis, and right now you need to know that all of us are involved in this mess. So Proctor is probably happy that they kicked him off that case now, because Tommy is just digging this hole deeper and deeper for him. So he tells Tommy that if the feds have information to tie them all, into a legal business together, that Tasha will implicate herself when she's on the stand testifying on Ghost's behalf, and that they're all going to be screwed. And he's like, so I'm going to need you to back up, because I got places to go and things to do. So he runs across the street and leaves Tommy standing there to ponder over his future and how they're going to fix this mess. Then we have a scene with Tasha and Keisha's over at Tasha's place, and they're going through the closet looking for an outfit for Tasha to wear at the hearing the following day. And I thought it was so funny that Tasha had all them clothes hanging up in that closet that still had the price tag on it. And she was saying that, with their financial situation now, that, she got to be hiding them tags and taking the clothes back to the store. And then Keisha told her that she had one of them tag guns, so she can go ahead and rip them tags off, and they'll just put them back on this time to take them back. And I'm like, dang, this thing's that crucial right now. So Tasha, she's talking to Keisha. Then Keisha gets a text message, and the expression on her face was that she was upset that it wasn't who she thought it was. So then Tasha started asking her questions, and through the course of their conversation, Keisha just lets it leak that she's involved with a white boy, and she never thought she'd meet a white guy that had so much game. And Tasha was like, well, the way you describing him sound like you talking about Tommy. But then Keisha doesn't answer the question, but Tasha done figured it out by now. So then after Proctor walked off from Tommy, he actually went to take his daughter to lunch. And so they're sitting there talking, and he's telling her that he was removed from the case, so he's going to have more time to spend with her. And she's concerned that he was kicked off the case because of her, but he lets her know that's not the case. And then here comes that damn Angela. So she's like, well, who is this? And Proctor was like, me and my daughter need to continue our lunch together without any interruptions from you. And she's like, well, I need to talk to you. So he get up and go talk to her, and then she's like, well, I presented the evidence, and they didn't go for it, so I need your help. I need to know anything you can tell me about Ghost and his activities. And Proctor was looking at her like, hell, have you lost your doggone mind? Like, what in the world makes you think I'm about to give you any of Ghost information? So he tells her that she needs to go and talk to Ghost herself. And then Angela tried to shake his hand, and he looked down at her and was like, you effing kidding me? You think I'm like in some kind of partnership with you? And he like rolled his eyes and walked off. And I'm thinking like, finally somebody that's willing to stand up to Angela and tell her what they really think about her. Oh, and then I forgot there was a scene where after Proctor left, Tommy got a text message, and the text message was from Proctor, and he was saying that, they need to meet because the people in Chicago, are writing him about the product, and they need to know, when they're going to be able to get back on the street. So once again, Tommy got all this pressure coming down on him, and he just being pulled in all these different directions. So Tommy goes to Tasha's, and he sneaks up on Tariq, and so Tariq's sitting there on the bed, thumbing with Destiny's phone number, trying to decide if he's going to call her again. And so Tommy noticed that Tariq had on some new clothes, and some very expensive clothes, because I think Tariq said it was cashmere. It was like a cashmere warm-up suit. And so Tommy asked him, like, well, where you get money from to be buying new clothes like that? And Tariq said that, it was money that he had been stashing from his allowance. And since everybody's telling him that he's now the man of the house, he figured he'd go out and get him some apparel to make him feel and look like the man of the house. So then Tariq, I guess he's falling in love with Miss Destiny, so he needs some fatherly advice from Tommy. And Tommy like, boy, you done had sex. Like, didn't we tell you to come to us? And so, Tariq is like, well, my dad ain't here and you busy. And I really didn't have time to stop in the moment and call y'all and ask y'all what y'all thought. So then Tommy was like, well, did you cover up? Did you protect yourself? And Tariq said he did. And Tommy said, well, always cover up. Just make sure you're taking care of that part of it. And then Tommy uses the opportunity to start questioning Tariq about where he been and what he's been doing. And then Tariq dumped behind, go sit there and say that he met the girl at a party that Dre took him to. Like, Tommy ain't gonna go back and ask Dre about this party. So I'm like, boy, you just ain't ready for the game at all. And then I still cannot believe that Tommy and Tasha don't know that Kanan is still alive. Like, they got to be the only people in the city that still think that Kanan is dead. And I'm thinking, I guess the streets don't be talking as much as people say that they be talking, because they should know, everybody should know that Kanan is back on the streets now. Or then I got to thinking, well, maybe nobody knew Kanan was dead except for Tommy and Tasha and Ghost, and then maybe that's why Kanan can just walk around so freely and nobody think anything of it. Because I'm trying to remember from the season when Kanan was killed, but maybe that's what it is. Maybe I overlooked that part. So after Angela left Proctor, she goes to visit Ghost, and this cow is just really think that she is the bag of Cheetos, the cheese, and everything else, because she just has this arrogance about her that make you just want to slap the crap out of her. So Ghost, when he's talking to her, he gets diarrhea of the mouth and then want to be revealing everything to try and get Angela to believe his innocence. And Silver just sitting there looking at him like, boy, maybe that's why Silver trying to push up on Tasha, because he know that Ghost is still all up in Angela Coochie and want to get back with that as soon as he get free. But he, starts telling Angela that he was actually in the apartment when she came into Knox's apartment. I'm just like, okay, finally you got that out. And then Angela's like, well, you need something else. So then he pulls over the photo with the phone and points out that, the phone wasn't in the drawer when he was there. So Angela got an answer for everything. So finally, Silver jumps in and was like, okay, can I have a moment with my client? Because, you know, this is just about to make me throw up right now. So once she leaves, you know, he asks Ghost again, you know, if there's anything that he needs to know. Ghost, you know, he doesn't want Tasha to testify, says, but Silver lets him know that, you know, that may be their best option. But please, if you got any information that's going to make us look like a fool when we get in this courtroom, I need you to tell me right now. But Ghost said, no. Everything is cool. I am a legit businessman. I'm on the up and up, and you ain't got nothing to worry about. So can you guys explain to me what kind of courtroom this is where the prisoners, and I said this in a previous video, like why are they escorting Ghost through the courtroom where the spectators are sitting at? Like I have been in local courtrooms and I have been in federal courtrooms, and I have never been in a courtroom where they're marching, because like that means that if he's coming in up the aisle from the door back there, that he actually had to walk through the hallways and everything to get there. And I'm just like, it's really bothering me because that is just so unrealistic that they would be walking him in like that. But anyway, that's just another one of my little pet peeves about the show. And then the other thing was, in some scenes when Ghost is in court, he has on the little orange prison jumpsuit. And then in other scenes, he has on his suit. So he comes into court on this particular day, you know, looking like $1 million, you know, in his designer suit and looking all good. And Angela looking at him, you know, Angela looking at him thinking, dang, I missed that. Tasha looking at him like, nigga, if you wasn't so fine, I would be done cut you loose by now. But, you know, Tasha comes in with the kids and they're sitting there, and I didn't miss the fact that when Tasha came in and sat down that Silver was checking her out. You know, so I'm like, he is just lusting after this woman. So the Keystone Cops, you know, they present their theory about the check, and then Silver calls Ghost to the stand instead of Tasha. So they're all like surprised, like what's going on. And then Tasha, you know, she was like, I think when Tasha first got into the courtroom before they brought Ghost in, she told Silver that she had something to tell him, but then he said, no, you know, we'll talk about it later. So she never did get a chance to say whatever it was. So I don't know if that's what made him call Ghost up to the stand instead of Tasha, or if it was always his plan to call Ghost up. But anyway, Ghost gets up on the stand and he puts on this, you know, Emmy Award winning performance about, you know, what an honest man he is. And Tariq was sitting there looking at his dad like, you are such a liar. And it was all fun and games until Sandoval gets up to cross-examine Ghost. And so this sadistic bastard, like he's standing there like laying out the whole event, like telling Ghost like, you went in and you did this and you shot him, and while he was dying you was watching him and then you shot him again. Like he was giving all the details, and I'm like, well, dang, how you know all this happened? And then I remember because he was the one that killed Greg. And so he was just going on and on and on, and he finally cracked Ghost. And then Ghost is like, I swear I didn't kill Greg. And then he was like, Greg? How you calling that man by his name like you know him personally? And I'm just like, oh my God, Ghost, like seriously. So after the cross-examination, you know, Judge Tapper, who I just love to death, says that he'll make his ruling the following morning, you know, and get back with him, let him know what he decided. So Silver, you know, doesn't look too hopeful that they were successful, which makes me question again, why did he put Ghost up on the stand? But then if he's feeling Tasha, that he doesn't want Tasha to implicate herself, so that may be his strategy and all this, is send Ghost off to jail and then he can get with Tasha. So as they handcuff Ghost and, you know, escort him out, you know, he's like right in front of Raina. And so Raina starts crying, and then Tasha is looking like, you know, what the hell did you just do? Like, why did you go off up on the stand? And then we pan over to Angela, you know, and she's looking over like she feels bad, you know, for what she did, and she wished there was something she could do to help. But I'm just like, come on. So back at the jail, Ghost is upset with Silver, you know, for bringing him on the stand, but Silver breaks it down for him and lets Ghost know, what he's up against and what it's going to cost him to put on the best defense. And he's like, we'll have to bring in some associates from our firm. We're going to have to hire some investigators. We got to get character witnesses, and all this is going to cost a lot of money, so what we going to do? So Ghost, he doesn't know how he's going to afford any of this because he doesn't have any cash on hand. And then I'm just still dumbfounded that they had all their money in the bank. Like, they did not have money stashed away hidden somewhere in an offshore account, but we're going to flow with the writing of the show. And I thought after last week's episode, when Ghost got rid of Clyde Williams, who's played by Charlie Murphy, that we had seen the last of him, but not quite yet. So he comes strolling into the weight room, and Teresi taunts him about being transferred to this prison called Danbury, which must be like a really crappy prison. And, he's like, well, how do you know about that? And Teresi let him know he know everything going on in the jail. So Teresi plants the seed that Ghost, must have a lot of money, and that he was probably behind the transfer, and he probably got all these connections. And so he offers to help Clyde get rid of Ghost. So I'm thinking that Teresi is running the whole prison system, because for somebody to be in jail for all these doggone murders, he comes into a room and the guards just, clear the room out so he can have space to himself. They bringing him cell phones and all kind of nonsense going on. So after court, Ghost was not in the best of moods, so he's in the weight room, trying to work off some steam. When Clyde comes in, to set him up as usual, but what he does is set Ghost off. So Ghost released all his anger and frustration, and it was like a scene out of a horror movie. And that's where Ghost was going to wake up. I kept saying, okay, when he gonna wake up? When he gonna wake up and this all a dream? But honey, that didn't happen. It did not happen. He kept beating Clyde's face to it, like almost, he had a weight, and he was just like crashing, and you could hear the bones in his skull cracking, and oh my God, blood was everywhere, all over Ghost's face, all over his clothes, all over the weight room, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so sickening. But that's one person I can check off my list, because y'all remember Clyde Williams was at the top of the list. So after Ghost comes back into himself and realizes what he's done and he's about to go to prison for real, Teresi comes in, because the goal was that Clyde Williams had left the door propped open, and then Teresi and this other prisoner was supposed to come in, and then they were going to stab Ghost and kill Ghost. But the Teresi came in and saw what was going on in there, and then he was like, oh, okay, maybe I can use this to work in my favor. So he ends up choking the guy that he brought in to kill Ghost, and then they decided they're gonna make it look like a murder-suicide, like the guy killed Clyde Williams and then hung himself. And so the power of television wants us to believe that Ghost was able to swap clothes with the other guy and then rid himself of all that blood that was all over his face, his head, his neck, his hands, and everything, and nobody was going to notice, which goes back to Teresi must be run the prison, the guards, and everything else for them to get away with this one. So the following morning, they're back in court, and we learn that Silver has filed a motion to dismiss all the charges. So he calls Angela to the stand, and the Keystone cops almost crapped on themselves. They're like, what the hell going on? What is she doing? Why is she up there on that stand with them? So Angela explains about the video and how they kept the tapes out of evidence, hindering the defense's case to put on a fair defense for Ghost. And so she's willing to accept responsibility for her role, and what was going on, because even though she believes Ghost is guilty, she wants him to have a fair trial. So then John gets up to cross-examine her and brings up, that Angela was having a relationship with Ghost, and that he found out that actually this information came in while he was cross-examining her, and they came in with evidence that it was 24 hours after she had collected the fingerprints off the window before she logged them in. And so now they're all screwed because the judge went off on everybody and told them that he had never seen such craziness in his courtroom and such corrupt people, in the federal department. And so he was going to drop the charges against Ghost, but he was going to have all of them investigated, and that they were going to be suspended until the investigation was complete. So Angela then screwed everybody, because now all of them suspended. They, and the judge was just not having it. And he wasn't playing the radio. And when he told Ghost that, he was dropping the charges against him, he let him know that if he is guilty of anything, that he hopes that when they bring him back on trial, that they have a more professional team together that will finally get him the justice that he deserved. I was like, whew. So, of course, Angela, she has to get the final word in. So as she's leaving the courtroom, Ghost tells her thank you. And then she's like, don't thank me, Jamie. I didn't do this for you. And you may not be guilty for killing Greg, but you're guilty of something, and I'm going to prove it. I'm just like, oh my God, can somebody please take her out of our misery? Because she seems to be happy in her role. And by the way, did you guys see the story that was going around the internet where she was complaining about the fans not knowing fact from fiction, and that she was tired of all the death threats and the posting that the fans were made, saying that they want her to die and everything. And then she claimed that she was even getting personal death threats from people who didn't seem to think that, who couldn't separate her character on the show from her, the actress. And I was thinking to myself, did anybody really threaten you directly, Angela, or what's her name, Lauren? See, I don't even know, Layla Lauren, or whatever her name is, or did they just tag you on Twitter in their posts when they were talking about the show? And then the characters, Simon Stern, he's back on the show. And remember, he was the one that was trying to go into partnership with Ghost with the clubs, and his wife was, they had like some freaky deaky sex stuff going on. But anyway, he shows up and he goes to visit Ghost in jail and offers him some money, to help Tasha, since their assets have been frozen. So Ghost turns him down like, no, dude, I don't want your money. I don't want nothing from you. And Stern was telling him, even though we had our differences as businessmen, we stick together and we help each other out. But Ghost was like, dude, I know you up to something, and no, I don't need your help. Then during the hearing, he goes out and he talks to Tasha, because they had like a little break, and he went and he talked to Tasha and pretty much gave her the same offer to help, and Tasha turns it down also, because she got to talk to Ghost and get permission from Ghost, or so we thought. But then later on in the show, she does end up calling him, to get the financial help. And I'm just like, Tasha, that may not have been a good move. So then we have a scene where Tasha confronts Tommy about his relationship with Keisha and lets him know, that Keisha ain't about this life, and that he got to be real careful with her, because if Tommy hurts her, then, she doesn't know how Keisha's going to react. So Tommy was having an emotional moment, because he admits to seeing Keisha, and telling Tasha, that he don't think he's ever going to love anybody as much as he loved Holly, because, Holly let him put his guard down, and then she turned out, to double cross him and everything. And he admits to Tasha, after Tasha was like, well, what happened to Holly? Where the hell is Holly at? He tells her that he killed Holly, and why he killed her, because she had ordered the hit on Ghost, and he thought that Ghost was dead, and he just couldn't, stand the thought of knowing that his woman had set up his best friend. So Tasha was like, oh my God, but then she puts on a brave face and says, well, I understand, we always got to protect the family and do what's best for the family. And I swear, Tasha low-key gave Tommy the okay to kill Keisha. It came down to it. I'm thinking, dang, Tasha kind of ruthless herself. Now, why she can't be that way when she's dealing with Angela, I don't know. But she showed a side of herself in this episode that had me like, oh, let me leave Tasha alone. And Julio. So, I had a mad crush on Julio. Thought he was all kind of sexy. But then after seeing this sex scene with him and that chick, I don't know what to think. Like, do men have their entire bodies waxed? Because I swear it might have been like a few strands of hair on Julio's chest, but for the most part his entire body had been waxed down, all in his private area, and then looked like he might get his butt waxed too. And if y'all watch Shaws of Sunset, last week they had that scene where they were going to get their butt cracks waxed and the booty holes bleached and everything. So I'm thinking Julio might be into that. And I mean, his skin looked so smooth and so clean and so soft looking, like he was softer than a baby skin. His body looked more feminine in that scene than that girl that he was banging. And I was just like, with all that screwing y'all had going on, wasn't no sweating, her makeup was not touched in any kind of way, lipstick still intact. And I'm just like, why y'all do Julio like that? Like, why Julio sex scene couldn't have been all sexy and have us like groveling at the screen? But anyway, you know, we did get to see Julio in action, and I guess he got a little bit of thug in him. I don't know. So the scene was brought to us by a setup for Julio to be getting all these doggone text messages where they done went out in these streets and telling everybody that Cristobal is getting more bricks of kilos than everybody else is getting. So first he gets a text from somebody named Callahan, you know, who wants to know why Cristobal is getting more bricks and he wants the same. Then he gets another text from somebody named Pancho who's saying that, hey, I heard Cristobal getting extra weight. You got to hook us up too, or we ain't doing business with you no more. So I don't know if Dre is putting the word out on the street, if Cristobal is putting the word out on the street, but they about to get Julio all messed up in some stuff. And then I thought that Julio planted that girl at the club to spy on Dre, but she evidently hasn't been going back sharing what she's been hearing and seeing, because once he said to her, like, why everybody, you know, who's going around telling people that I'm giving Cristobal this extra drugs, like what's going on? Then she remembers, oh yeah, you know, he's been hanging out at the club with Dre, and I saw them talking the other day. And I'm just like, girl, can you get on your job? Because this is information that you should have went in the bathroom and called Julio and let Julio knew what's going on. Then we have a scene where Dre is talking to Tommy and letting him know that he wants to set up another game night like they had did before to try and make up, you know, some of the money that they're losing by the clubs being shut down. So Tommy tells him that, you know, to keep it on the low and make it more of like an underground thing that's by invitation only. And he also doesn't want any drugs sold. And then Dre starts talking about, oh, okay, well, we'll do like a courier service. So I don't know what he was talking about with that. So then, or maybe he was going to do the courier service to get the invitations out to people, but he was ignoring Tommy when Tommy said he didn't want no drugs flowing through the party. So then Patar was also there with them, and he's concerned, you know, like, who are these women that you have? Like, how do you know they're not going back telling your business and that you can trust them? And then he's like, and where's your security? Who's in charge in case something goes down? You know, but Dre say he's got this. He know what's going on. But you can tell by the second that Patar is losing his confidence in this crew. So Dre seemed to have impressed Tommy, even if he didn't impress Patar. But, you know, when Tommy asked him about, you know, taking Tariq to that party, Dre is like, oh, no, I ain't take Tariq to no party. Like, I don't know what he's talking about, but he better keep my name out of it because I ain't getting caught up in this mess. So then later on that night when they're having the party, Kanan shows up. So Dre gives him a satchel full of money and tells him that that's the final payment. But of course, Kanan looking at him like, how do you decide that this is the final payment for me? But Dre seems to think he has it all mapped out. So he tells Kanan that he needs to leave Tariq alone, that enough is enough. And then he lets Kanan know that Milan is dead and that he's moved into Milan's spot, and that he knows Kanan wants to reclaim his seat at the throne. So he is the one that can bring him back into the game and get him back into position. And I'm thinking, Dre, you must be real crazy. So now we got to move you up on the list of people that need to be killed. So while Dre and Kanan are talking, Julio shows up, and so he's walking through the place, and they were like in a back room, and there was a window to the door, so he could see the two of them talking, and then I'm like, so does Julio not know that Kanan is supposed to be dead? Just real confused about the whole Kanan situation. So if you guys can help me clarify what's going on with that, like who knows Kanan was dead and who didn't know that Kanan was supposed to be dead, and leave it in the comments below. So now I'm wondering what Julio is going to do with the information. Like, is he going to get Dre in front of Tommy and confront Dre about it and then kill Dre so that he can win Tommy's confidence? Or is he going to find out that Ghost has been released from prison and then hold the information, you know, until he can get with Ghost and see what he could do? But I think either way it pans out, Dre might not be with us much longer. And I was kind of liking Dre and had hope for him, but he's just not proven to be too loyal or too trustworthy. So get to the end of the show and let's wrap things up, you know, so they can set the scene for the next episode. So Tommy gets a call from Proctor that he needs to come to Chicago because they want to meet with him. And Tommy looks like he's real concerned, but he calls Grim, you know, to get him a car, you know, so that he can take the trip. And then when Grim shows up with the car, you know, once again, Tommy's standing out on the street waiting on this car to come. And I'm thinking, okay, are they no longer trailing Tommy anymore? Is he free to roam around the city as he please? But he gives Grim his telephone and tells him that, you know, whatever he does, don't let the phone get turned off. You know, don't let the battery die. And so Grim is like, well, what if we don't hear back from you? And then Tommy said, well, it don't matter. So I'm thinking he saying to himself, if you don't hear back from me, that means they done killed me. You ain't just move on with life and forget about me. And then Angela, you know, she has to walk the hall of shame, you know, because she's been suspended from her job. And you know how they do, you know, when they fire you or whatever, you know, you got to put your little personal belongings in that little box and walk through the hallways with the box. So she, you know, all the other feds are looking at her, you know, and they turning up their nose like, you traitor, you know, you backstabber, just giving her these glaring looks. So she get on the elevator, and as the doors are closing, Sandoval opens the door back up, and there he is with his box, and you know he's on there telling her that, you know, he still believes that Ghost was the killer and she messed up the case. But Angie, you know, Angela is like, you know, he's not the killer, but I'm gonna, you know, search to the ends of the earth to find out who the real person is. And then she starts speaking in Spanish, talking about, because what you do in the dark, you know, it always comes to the light. So she like putting Sandoval on notice that boo, I know it was you that did it. And then I'm thinking to myself, one of them gonna have to out the other one or kill the other one. So I'm thinking Sandoval is going to get all paranoid and is going to try and kill Angela, and then Angela going to have to kill him, because for some reason they don't want to let Angela go on this show. So I think she's going to be around for a while, and that's probably how that whole scene is going to go down. So then we move over to Tasha. So Silver goes to visit Tasha, and there is definitely some chemistry going on there. It's undeniable at this point. So there was just too much touchy feeling, and then they hugged each other, and he was rubbing on her back and smelling her hair and stuff. And I'm just like, really, Silver? Like, this is your client's wife. You in this man's house. Like, do you have no shame? And once again, I just feel like Silver is setting Ghost up. And I don't know if he's setting Ghost up so he can have Tasha or what's going on, but something ain't right about this Joker. And so he tells Tasha that, you know, it'll take some time to unfreeze their assets, so she may want to find some other sources or resources in order to get money until, you know, everything is undone. And then after he leaves, Tasha calls Stern. So this is what I was talking about earlier, where she goes ahead and takes his offer. And we already know from the scenes for next week that that was a huge mistake, because now he wants his money back, and he wants his money back right now. Then Tariq goes to see Kanan, but Kanan isn't there, and it turns out that Jukebox is. So she takes Tariq, and then when Kanan returns, she lets him know that Ghost is free. Oh, actually, when Kanan was in with Dre, he got a text message from Tariq saying that he told his mom that he was spending the night with a friend, and he wanted to know if Kanan wanted to hang out. And then once again, the way Tariq talks to Kanan is like Tariq is the older one and Kanan is the child. But I don't know if Tariq just gets that charisma, from growing up with his dad, and he's emulating, the way that ghosts act. But Kanan doesn't say anything. He seems to, go along with whatever Tariq says. So when he shows up at the apartment, all the lights are out, no TV on or anything, and he's calling out to Tariq, and then Jukebox comes out, and she's like, hey, Ghost is free, so now we can proceed with our plan. So Kanan was like, what, you got Tariq? And she was like, yeah, so now, we can get the money from Ghost and then do as we, originally planned and kill Ghost and Tariq. So I'm like, okay, this season is really, really heating up. And I think it's only like 10 episodes, so we got 5 more episodes to go. So last but not least, Teresi corners Ghost again. So he gives Ghost this phone and tells him that he wants him to give the phone to Tommy. And then Ghost is like, man, what is up with you wanting to talk to Tommy? He was like, do you know his dad or something? Like, what's going on? And then from Teresi's expression, I think Ghost figured out that Teresi is actually Tommy's dad. So Teresi tells Ghost that if he doesn't give Tommy the phone and he doesn't hear from Tommy, that he's going to tell what really happened to Clyde. So Teresi won in the end. He still got Ghost under his control. And then I'm wondering, how I'm always thinking ahead, if whatever happens with Tommy while he's in Chicago, is Teresi going to be the one that's going to be able to rescue Tommy and get Tommy out of the mess. So that's it for me, guys. Let me know what you thought about the episode. Leave your comments below, rate the video, subscribe to the channel, and you can do all of that below. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I shall talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.